Hey, what's up? I'm ElectraBe, and I want to chop it up with you on some esoteric knowledge on today as it pertains to what happened to Jesus. What happened? Like, the book ends there. And so, esoteric knowledge, meaning I'm going to explain some things in a way that is not commonly explained and exposed to the common mind. This is why secret societies were so common in the past. It was because they understood degrees. That, yeah, a man can get an outside degree, which that helps the psychology of people who need to look at something and say, okay, I can trust that you can help me because of these things. And so for that reason, I got my master's. I got all these different certifications. But in spiritual communities where they're not really stuck on a form or a fashion of godliness, they're just really pursuing the one God and trying to see what that experience can be like. They understood degrees in that, because there are degrees, there are different degrees when you go deeper, higher, longer, wider on each dimensional place. I try to say it in a way that is not super spiritualized. I like to demystify it and just, but I don't want to diss the fact that my form and fashion of godliness that feels the most comfortable to me is by way of a man who was in a secret society and had really high degrees. And so all that to be said, I wanted to share that to explain to you some of the reason why they were secrets. Because when you expose realities and other minds around haven't gotten to the place where they can even consider that, then it just becomes a whole other thing. So it's kind of like, okay, just keep it a secret. See how now these tools help you in your journey. Because that's what it was about. I mean, that's what it still is about. That's why you see these societies and organizations giving back. Because it's always about that. And so the reason why, on some esoteric type, okay? So put your esoteric hat on with me. Go ahead, touch your head. Take a moment, feel what it's like to touch your head. Get childlike with me, because I'm about to go in, okay? And I'm at a place in my life where I'm really wanting to give my own self permission to be the adult person I came here to be. And so that looks like explaining myself openly to show myself that I'm safe in vulnerability. Because whether someone feels whatever they feel, whoever don't like it is that man problem. And that is a fabulous way to live. Shout out to Fabulous and Neo. And so, esoterically speaking, one of the reasons why Jesus Christ, when we see here in the book after the crucifixion situation, and there's a lot to be said about that situation. I can explain it in a lot of ways on my YouTube channel, Real House of ElectraBe, when I do my Ask About It sessions. If those are things that really burn and just drive you in your heart, you are more than welcome to ask me about it. Ask about it. Like, I have so much to share. Because I know I mentioned like the degrees and everything in the world's perspective, but I came in as a very strong mind already. And I was in an environment. It was the Joel 2 outpouring. And I know it to be true. I mean, on so many levels. And so, but mind you, I'm in a little person's body, right? But I had the same soul. I was called to do the same thing I'm doing now. My parents have a video of me at 4 years old standing on my grandpa's. He had a really big church, and I'm reciting like a whole chapter of some long book in the Bible that I probably, would I even know like accurately even some verses now, but this is the thing. The word I've hid in my heart, meaning the message that was being communicated to me through the words that were being said from the spirit of that book. When a pastor is up there and he is reciting that, an esoteric way to explain a reciting of scripture, a preaching of a text, is it's an affirmation. These are affirmations that have made spiritual people wealthy AF. And so some of the other stuff we haven't figured out, right? Because we're multi-dimensional beings. So we got to figure out how to make the spirituality also help us to thrive in community. That's something I learned as it pertains to thriving in community and just thriving in life. I learned how that looks when I moved to Los Angeles to pursue my career, my passions that I am still pursuing. And I chuckle because that is what I learned to be wealth in the community of the entertainment industry. So I was able to perceive what wealth looked like in the community of spirituality. And so that was something I knew from the inside out, regardless of how the world was turning or what was going on in the world. I knew how to access that because I had seen it and studied it and experienced it. It was experiential knowledge for me. And then I kept rehearsing it. I kept affirming it, right? Until I got it on the inside, until your word I had hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. And this phrase, I'm receiving some information about this phrase right now. I'm going to show you how I practice learning my gift and what has made me so strong in my gift, because I was around a lot of people who were strong in the way they had learned to feel comfortable. And in mirroring them, I found the spirit of that in my own self. And so that I might not seen again. This is a whole nother language. And since we are doing esoteric things, if you know someone who understands, honestly, I would call it gibberish, because I feel like that has to do with the actual language. Like, so in Western culture, maybe we learn that term gibberish to have a negative connotation to it. But I feel like there's an actual language. They're very strong melanated people of the land. But I'm seeing the words like I see GNAT. So it wasn't, because esoterically speaking, every single religious group, so the religious group is the area you grew up around, where majority of the people were like, spiritually speaking, we're going to be on this degree. So we're going to talk about these things collectively. Now it'll be some other little groups that are exploring, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but every single group is telling a story, but it's a spiritual story. It can't be a natural story, because if it was a natural story, then it would be no different than any other natural book. This is a spiritual book, each book. And each book is describing in the names of the people, they're trying to describe a spiritual type. So in some religious communities, they talk about Anunnaki, Anu, Aset, you know, Isis, Osiris, you know, Big Mama, right? And if you listen to what they're telling you about these caricatures, these types, these spirit types, you will then, now again, I'm starting to flow more as I can feel the spirit of who I am and my God identity stirring up in me. And so then I naturally flow in my form that I've mastered, because then I can just really give you all of me, because all of me loves all of you. Every frown, every expression. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. Shout out to that beautiful couple. So they had those names, but if you listen to the way the characters are described, you can find it in whatever book you grew up believing as the highest degree of spiritual thinking in a safe capacity. And so for me, we have Jesus Christ, the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? And he got other names or whatever, you know. Some might, you know what I'm saying? Emmanuel. You know what I'm saying? What up, M? What, Manny, where you at? L. Oh, okay. But I'm animating that, but esoterically speaking, every single degree, so this is another way of explaining degrees. We also saw degrees as it pertained to like separation of things. And so we weren't just throwing out names. We knew that a good name was worth more than precious ointment. Now, there's a lot to be said about that, but we come from a time where, and some of us still practice it today, and then others of us are learning it today, and both are okay. But we come from a time where there was thought put into names. Your first name, your second name, your third name. You know what I'm saying? Some of my Latino friends, they got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 names. So my African names, you know, extend far like that too, because you have an African person say one of your names in their language, and you'd be like, wow, all of that was, oh, that was just J. That was just J. Okay. Like when I got my tat of Christ, I was like, wow, it was interesting, you know, like when he was explaining to me all of that. And so in our book, when we see the name Emmanuel, and these are things that we wrote, it's not saying anything bad about the white man, esoterically speaking. No one is really against you. I have seen so many different forms of myself. Let me give you some examples. Oh my goodness. So I've seen myself as a gray. I didn't know it was myself until I got to a higher degree. And this is the thing. When these secret societies, because they were amongst a collective group of people, because you can go higher in degrees when you're around a group of people who are understanding the concept that, hey, we're all going higher in degrees. So we're all supposed to be continuing to think on things that are above. So not just above where third dimension or fourth dimension or things that are above. Because we're not planning on having this human experience again, which brings me back to what I was saying. And let me make a note, because this is so juicy. I don't want to. So I was telling you about the degrees because I want to explain it to you like a school. Because all throughout life, in this human experience, the principle of what you experience in school is what you are going to continue to see for your entire life. And if you can learn that principle, now this is esoteric knowledge and wisdom. This is what they did, why we could create these communities. You know, why my granddad, he could just give money away to people. And he had a smile on his face. He loved to give. He just would give all he had, because you're receiving so much because you're in the place of wealth. And so let's see if I can pull all of this back together quickly. And if you are one that flows, you understand, you know, what's happening. You already know. But yeah, so we have these structures set up. So in your church, okay, so in elementary, everyone in elementary, they understand in their mind, because the higher minds, the higher God minds in bodily forms, right? Not your God, because you shall not have any other God before you or after you. I shall not. And I shall not want to either. Esoterically speaking, again, this keeps bringing me back to what I was saying about Jesus Christ and the revelation of why he kept disappearing, and this esoteric wisdom I want to give to you. So there is a place of a at some point, you have to accept your originality. At some point, you have to accept, and not just keep affirming it in church, which is good. But when a person is affirming, I'm a billionaire, I have $1 billion, I love, again, I'm out here in the industry, I loved watching and just being energetically close to Jim Carrey, because growing up, in the Midwest, I really admired how he would do his wacky faces, and I have a wacky face. Now I really like doing like this. And I would always do it for like my little cousins and everything, and they would always laugh. But it was like, because I admired that about Jim Carrey. I admire so much about what he shared with his journey. Why was I bringing him up? It'll come back to me, but I know that I was trying to explain that if you just make the decision to decide to be your real self. Maybe I was bringing up Jim Carrey. because how he got to this place of thinking in his mind. And so Jesus Christ got to this place in his journey that we keep reading about, where he accepted that he was God, not other people's God. When other people tried to make him their God, he would say stuff like, why are you saying that to me? Why are you calling me the good teacher? No one is good but God. But this is the thing. Jesus Christ was like, me, what I was saying about myself, in that in a younger body, I was around a lot of wealthy spiritual minds that freely gave, and I was able to hold on to it because they gave it in joy. And that's part of the oil. And I know I was mentioning the industry, and just real quickly, because I know some of you all that follow me and stuff, you guys are in the industry like me. What I learned about what wealth looks like for a person who is in the industry and has made a lot of money. Okay, I'm talking about where you've made so much money that you never have to do anything again. Then it's like a switch automatically goes off in your mind, where then it's like, okay, well, if I'm already doing what I love, then I just keep doing it. Or if I want to do or try something else that I might fall in love with, I'll go ahead and do that. Because then the pressure, having money really in the psyche, it takes away a lot of pressure. And everybody knows this, right? And so then the person continues to bring in money. If they're staying in that same place of security, it just continues to happen, because love is what cultivates our continuum and our experience. And so Jesus Christ, he was so sure that he was one with God within himself, and that it wasn't robbery to say it. And that is the place that is not even, that's inheritance for us, esoterically speaking, but that's like a low level inheritance. And I got to tell you this in this way, in this tone, because I know that we have a form and a fashion that, make it hit, right? It's like any community. If you go into a certain church, because I was a paid worship leader at a black church for like 2 years, and it was a really incredible experience for me, because all of the songs that were like really popping for them, we didn't sing them songs at my daddy church. So it just was but it was an incredible experience, right? But I had to learn how to find my God self. So how to really be me as ElectraBe, but also honor the form and fashion of where I'm at. So again, like a teacher, so say in high school, everyone knows that these are the grades, these are the degrees, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are the grades, these are the degrees. Say it with me, 9, 10, 11, 12. Even the fact that I just had you do that, if you were willing, and again, this is esoterically speaking, if I was doing a different type of video, I would be talking to you in a different tone. But esoterically speaking, if you just did that, there is something that chemically happens. If you set up a personal session with me, I can tell you exactly what it means for you. That's how much I've mastered my gift. And it's not because I'm boasting in and of myself in this natural form that will fade away. No, I make my boast in the Lord of this house, this body of this house, the Lord of all. And so everyone in high school has a certain understanding at a certain level where it's expected to, at least in ninth grade, know how to add and multiply basics or how to use it on a device, right? So if you can't do it in your mind, then you can do it in the mind of a device. Same thing. We're both doing it in somebody's mind. And that's the point I'm really trying to esoterically get to here, is that when it's all said and done, it's really one. If you can grab hold of that. At some point, you gotta believe what you're actually affirming. I was giving the example of a billionaire. If a billionaire, that's Jim, yes, that's right. He explained how when he didn't have the money he wanted in the industry, he wrote himself a check for the amount and he would look at the money to remind himself. But you got to remind both parts of yourself, because you're not just spirit, you're natural. That's the action. If you got the faith part, that's the intention, esoterically speaking. But you don't have no works. And the thing is, some of us are so high in our spiritual wealth that you ain't even got to do a lot of the natural for things to just accumulate, because you're creating from the inside out. And so he wrote himself a check. When he hit that amount, he didn't need to write himself a check for that anymore. In these churches, when we are constantly affirming the same thing, it is because most people there are still at that degree. So I wanted to create a space. If you are at a different degree and you want to share, DM me. I want to hear what you have to say. I do. And so Jesus Christ, he was telling them, and so this is why I'm saying this is a very low level of inheritance for believers today. For those of us who are really saying we're believers, this is a very low inheritance, because this is 2022 years ago. This man was saying that in a book from that time ago. Now, let me explain that. So the different names, Paul, Tim, Ruth, they're names for today, because when we retranslated our book, and when I say our, it means we grew up in pockets of the world the same way where that was what people believed about the Bible. What I was going to say was the same way you can look at a map, of Michigan or whatever. And, that side is going to be Republican. That side is going to be Democratic. That side is going to be right. It's the same thing. The sides collectively decided on a degree that was easiest for most people to get to, because not everybody wants to be on an esoteric journey like me. Not everybody has time for it. Not everybody has the interest for it. But everybody that comes eats facts. And so, and I say that about myself in honor, because more and more I'm accepting my God self. So here you have Jesus Christ. And that's why I'm telling you, it takes practice to accept your God self, because mostly the people around you are looking at you as a lesser version of yourself. No, I'm trying to do something different. I don't live there no more. I throw that mirror away. That's not the reflection anymore. We're not reflecting that. Okay? We're no longer Mulan. Who is this girl I see staring straight back at me? No, When will your reflection show who now? Because I'm about to give you, I'm giving you these esoteric jewels. On the other side, I had so much wealth spiritually. That's why I'm so balanced in it. Like, I've just had so much spiritual wealth. And so then I'm able to just continue on in it, no matter what, because it's my life's purpose. It's my life's call. And I love it. And so, if you're at a higher degree, it is the time for you to start accepting that. And accepting the fact that if you're in 12th grade, even though a 9th grader is in high school now, they don't know because they haven't been through 10th and 11th and 12th. And guess what? Nobody goes through 10th, 11th, and 12th if they haven't passed enough of the different requirements that need to happen in a lot of different places of understanding. That's why in scripture, when it says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Because that's the point. If you don't understand what you're supposed to understand in 9th grade, you repeat 9th grade. And so in these societies, when they would have these degrees, it was because people were actually moving up in their real spiritual selves. It wasn't like what we see where it's one mind trying to make you have that thought and you're not allowed to explore other thoughts. That was not how these secret societies worked, because these were individuals who were so strong in their God selves and moving towards that. Again, that's wealth, right? How I said in the industry, I gave that an example there, how they just continue to do it. They just make movies that over the course of their lives, because they're not racing to a destination now. Oh, I gotta book my movie. No, you hit that, but you didn't hit that opportunity to go to the next degree and miss what you were supposed to learn. Because if you don't learn it, you keep repeating it. So this is why Jesus disappears and why there is no trace of what happened to Jesus Christ, and why we only have our book, and it ends in Revelation, because it was to remind us of what I'm telling you now, that the answers, the truth is already on the inside of you. What was put in every book, it was described in a way based on the location you were going to be born into. All of that was part of the plan. And you had to be trained up in that way so you would know how to go forward. And so whatever group that was,